Now, nothing in this world is perfect. Not a single book, not a single human, not a single series. Unless your name is FullMetal Alchemist. Now, if you were to ask me any anime I thought was perfect, I would honestly tell you FullMetal Alchemist, okay? When I talk about a perfect anime, okay, I don't mean just got me good and hyped or whatever. I'm talking about an anime that has all hits, no misses, okay? I'm talking about an anime where I have no problems with the story at all. It built the perfect climax, it had the perfect fights, it had the perfect story, all without oversaturating anything to the point where some things got even slightly annoying to me, okay? Like, I'm talking all hits, no misses, rewatchability around the clock type of perfect. And for me, FullMetal Alchemist honestly meets those requirements. Brotherhood, by the way, okay, just for clarification, because that's okay. Listen, FullMetal Alchemist 1 was good, but it wasn't the true ending. But Brotherhood, now that right there is infinite gas, okay? And that's what I watched recently, and so that's what I am recognizing as the one of the only perfect animes I've ever seen, okay? Now, I can't make such a bold claim without backing it up, okay? But there are a few things that lead me to thinking that. First of all, just the quantity of the series within itself, okay? 64 episodes. Now, I call this the perfect episode count because they basically summed up everything in this series and took care of everything with not going past 100, but 64 on the dot, okay? And they didn't even extend into a second series to see how they were doing growing up. It was enough for them to show us the fact that Edward and Alphonse ended up living a happy life, that Edward and Winry ended up together. That was enough for us, okay? They didn't have to go into no extra secondary series like Boruto, for example, to give us all this extra stuff that wasn't needed when we already had a conclusion for the story where we could have just taken that nice, sweet, and wholesome ending where we see glimpses of what the future could be, but we don't need to actually dwell into it. We just need to know that they're living a happy life, and that's it. And that's exactly what FullMetal Alchemist Brotherhood did, okay? We saw them propose, we saw that they're living together, we saw that they're happy, and that's all that was needed. That's perfect for me, okay? Not a lot of other animes do that, okay? Some try to overextend and go an extra boundary to give us extra content, when instead we'll be more happier with a regular ending that just wraps everything up instead of extra content that kind of, and sometimes in some cases, ruins the story, because it's like, what was the point of everything they did in the first series? The second point is honestly all of the battles that took place, okay? And I know that every series has battles, every series has cool fights that happens in between the series, but it was like the placing of the battles within the story, right? It was like every single fight was necessary, okay? And every single fight didn't have to have a conclusion right there. Like, some fights were concluded later on than when they originally started, okay? And I like that because it makes it feel like we have something more forward to look to when it comes to a lot of the fights in the series, okay? And every single fight was well placed within the story. It wasn't like a lot of shonens where they just stuff fights in your face and they just stuff a whole bunch of just action in order to keep you interested throughout the story. Because listen, to be honest, the story of the show is actually pretty good, okay? Like, honestly, if this story, like, the show is mostly dialogue based, well, you could say it's half dialogue, half fighting based, okay? And that's the perfect mix for the show. It all is panned out perfectly. Like, it's not overly, like, it's at some points where you're like, you know what, I don't even need the fighting. I'm genuinely interested in the plot and the synopsis of the story, the true meat of the story. I don't need hands to keep me interested in this. And that's where this series succeeds, because the whole story of them trying to figure out what to do with their mom, trying to get their body back, trying to figure out what's going on with all of that alchemy, the philosopher's stone, and just all of that stuff, okay? And it's like, all of that is so interesting to me that it just kept me tangled in the whole series. Like, this series is genuinely perfect when it comes to the way that it decides to do storytelling. And for my last fact, like, don't even get me started on the main characters of the story. Edward and Alphonse, Elric, okay? Two brothers that are trying to get their moms back, okay? Now, if you were to take these two characters and describe them, basically, you could say that Edward is the short, older brother who honestly is a very hot-headed main character, but there's something deeper to him than that, okay? Edward thinks, Edward fights with his head, okay? He doesn't go into every battle with emotions. Like, sometimes he does, but for the most part, he goes into every battle strategically, always having a trick up his sleeve, and it wasn't no, like, extra full to the point where it's like, what? Why is it, this makes no sense. Why can he do this or that? It's always some thought that goes behind everything he does. Like, it's no, like, BS when it comes to anything he does in the story, because it all makes sense. It all gets explained to the point where it's like, you know what? I'm cool with Edward being this OP. I'm cool with Edward doing this and that, okay? Alphonse himself, okay? Honestly, one of the most tragic characters of the story. Lost his whole body in the pursuit to get his mom. And what makes him cool to me is the fact that he didn't lose hope, okay? He never let himself just get utterly, completely destroyed mentally, despite how young he was when he did lose his body. He always kept the hope that he's gonna get it back. And it wasn't hope to the point where he's so, like, hopeful for it that it's just like, come on, bro, you're getting annoying at this point. It's hope to the point where it's like he's realistically thinking about it and he genuinely believes. It's like, this is a character that you honestly want to root for. Like, he's like the younger brother, but mature, more mature in a sense, okay? I wouldn't even say that. It's more so the way he decides to handle things in comparison to Ed, right? It's almost like they're a foil in some way, shape, or form, okay? Like, the way they'll both handle situations and get it done, but the way they decide to go about finishing it is two completely different ways, okay? That's what I like about these two main characters, because they don't have to be alike despite being brothers, okay? They all have their own ways of doing things. And that leads me to even go into the supporting main cast of this show, okay? Everybody, every single character will hit in some way, shape, or form. The evil people, you will hate them, but you'll love them because you hate them. Mustang, honestly, he's one of the best characters that was ever written, bro. Like, I love that guy, bro. Like, the fact that he was so willing to go down for his homie like that, bro. Like, when Hughes got killed and he was willing to take on, bro, he was willing to run ones with anyone. He didn't care if you were good or bad, bro. He was willing to go against his own government job for the sake of his homie, bro. And that's what makes him cool to me. And don't even get me started on the Greed / Ling Yao storyline, okay? First of all, the journey they took from being two separate entities that honestly had nothing to do with each other to eventually being together and having to deal with the fact that they both share one body now was honestly amazing, bro. Their whole character dynamic of him living inside and from them being like hating each other and to eventually forming a friendship was beautiful, okay? Greed, one of my favorite characters. Ling Yao, one of my favorite. Bro, you can consider anybody I'm naming off right now one of my favorite characters because of how they handled this show, bro. Like, characters, good. Story, good. Pacing, good. Amount of episodes, good. This story is all hits and no misses. Anybody and everybody should watch the perfect anime, FullMetal Alchemist Brotherhood.